What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Let's talk OTAs. That's right. We finally have a little bit of information from the Seahawks organized team activities. We don't have as much as I wanted to have. We don't have as much as I thought we would have. Today's OTAs, which were the third of 10 OTAs for the Seahawks, were going to be open to the media. They were going to be outside, but inclement weather forced the team back inside the VMAC facilities. So the media, the beat writers, the Twitterers, they did not get to watch the OTAs. So all we really have to go on right now are Pete Carroll's comments that he made to the media after the OTAs were over. You can go watch Carroll's video on the Seahawks YouTube channel. He went live about 2 o'clock, ended about an hour ago from when I'm recording this. But yeah, basically all we have to go on is what we heard from him and some of the comments from a few players. But hopefully in the future, in future OTAs over the next couple weeks, we'll be able to actually get some people watching what's going on so we can start trying to learn something. So let's run down what Carroll had to say about this third OTA and learn what we can. All right, so first things first, who actually is there? It seems like the initial reports were true. There are about 35 guys on the field right now. It's basically the same players that were there for rookie minicamp. So rookies, tryout players, Darrell Taylor, and a couple other players kicking around, and that's it. So the veterans are not there, with a couple of exceptions, and I'll get to one of those exceptions in a minute here, but that's basically what we're looking at right now. Carroll didn't seem concerned about it, but it is worth noting that the Seahawks do not have most of our veterans, and our NFC West rivals do have most of their veterans at their OTAs. So if we come out of the gate slow or we underperform and fall behind in the division, fair or not, this will be something that people point to when the season ends, or maybe even before then, I guess. Carroll had to say about veterans not attending. He said, I support these guys. I support the decision that they've made. So he seems comfortable with it. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Carroll has always been a guy to be pretty lackadaisical with things like player discipline, and he tends to be more understanding of the player side of things. But Carroll has said that he's fine with this decision. He also said that they're getting done what we can do with virtual meetings, and he says it's going great. Says that the guys, even if they are not in the VMAC right now, they are working their butts off everywhere, all over the place. So he seems confident that these players can do what they need to do virtually. And I guess only time will tell. Now, the most interesting player from today's OTAs, probably the star of the show, as it were, was probably one of the rare veterans who did show up, and that is Ahkello Witherspoon. So Ahkello Witherspoon was present, and he is currently not technically doing on-field work because he's coming off a minor knee surgery. He's still rehabbing, but he is in the facility. He is at the VMAC. He is doing everything he can, and once he heals up all the way from his what is reportedly a very minor knee surgery, he should be doing on-field work, one of the few veterans to be doing so. Carroll said he's the only veteran cornerback on the field right now, and that he expects him to contend for a starting spot this season, which I think we all pretty much knew. Witherspoon has said that he's reaping benefits of coming for start of OTAs by establishing connection with Coach Carroll and staff, something he didn't feel could be replicated on Zoom. So this is good. This is good. Witherspoon understands that he's a very talented player. He understands that he has a chance to break into the big time this year in this defense, playing with a guy like Carroll who knows how to get the most out of cornerbacks of his attributes. And he knows that the cap is going to skyrocket next year, so next year is a great chance for him to get a monster contract if he balls out this year. So he's going to be giving everything he has to ball out this year, so he can get that contract. And it seems like he's taking this seriously. He didn't have to show up for camp, and nobody would have thought anything of it, but he's here. He says that he's got familiarity with the Seahawks because he made a pre-draft visit to Seattle because he thought they might draft him. The cover 3 system fits him. And if true, that's big. We'll have to see. But Ahkello Witherspoon has traditionally been considered somebody who is best in man and bad in zone. So if he can play in the cover 3 zone system, that's obviously very big. He also wanted to stay on the West Coast because he's from Sacramento. He made some comments that indicated a lot of confidence on his part. He thinks he was the best cornerback in the league when he was healthy. He basically got a little perturbed when he was asked about his injury past with San Francisco. He's very insistent that he's healthy now and he's going to be healthy this season. He also said that Richard Sherman actually indicated to him that Seattle would be a great place for him to sign and that he wanted to go to Seattle coming out of college anyway. So it seems like he's very excited to be here. So Witherspoon was probably the most interesting player from OTAs today. Again, we didn't get to watch anything. We only got to hear from the players and Carroll. But if there was a star of the show from the little bit that can be learned today, it was probably Witherspoon showing up, rehabbing the minor knee surgery, and hopefully being ready to ball out this season. So that's good. More notes from today. Carroll expects pretty good attendance for the mandatory minicamp in mid-June. He thinks that more and more players will start piling in as June comes around. He sounded like he thinks that the veterans will start to trickle in as the upcoming OTAs go by. So that'll be interesting to see. If that doesn't happen, it almost makes you wonder if maybe there is something going on here that Carroll isn't happy about. Because at a certain point, you're going to be like, I want my players physically present. Now, there was one bit of good news that I wasn't totally expecting. According to Carroll, there are 2 quarterbacks at the VMAC right now, and I thought there was only going to be one, Danny Etling, but as it turns out, Alex Magoo is there as well, and I've gone on record saying that I don't think Danny Etling has any kind of NFL future, but Alex Magoo is interesting. So Alex Magoo is there, and I think that's a big deal for players like Dwayne Eskridge because he gets to play with a slightly better quarterback. It's a big deal for guys like Tamorrion Terry and Cade Johnson. It's a big deal for a guy like Nick Gugimos to play with a more competent quarterback. I'm not saying Magoo is good, but I think he's better than Etling by a lot. Carroll also commented on Wilson. He doesn't seem bothered by Wilson not being there. Apparently, Wilson is down in San Diego working out with some of his teammates, including his tight ends. I think Gerald Everett and Will Dissly and Colby Parkinson are working out with him. I also know that Colby Parkinson's going to that tight end U thing, which is, we'll see if that has an impact on his career at all. There was really one other thing that Carroll said of a lot of interest that I'm going to put a spotlight on. They asked him about KJ Wright, and Carroll said the door is still open, but he said he doesn't expect the team to make any real significant roster moves until they get the full team on the field and see what they have. So you're not going to see any big signings or any signings of significance until training camp at earliest. I don't have a big problem with that. I will say I think this team needs to make at least 1 or 2 more moves to bring in maybe a better backup center, maybe another cornerback. There are things this team can do to make themselves a little bit better for 2021, and I think they should do those things. But Carroll indicated nothing's going to happen until camp at the earliest, so definitely, I don't know, put the cover over your gunpowder for now and just wait it out. Also commented a little bit on Nick Gugimos. Carroll said that Gugimos has played so little football in his career that the only highlights they could find on him were practice clips, but the strength of his private workout alone was enough to have him in at camp. So I'm sure you guys are somewhat familiar with the history of tight ends who lack skill but have great talent, performing at an exceedingly high level in the NFL. So Gugimos is certainly trying to follow in those footsteps. I'm intrigued. He also said a couple of things about the new offense and Shane Waldron and the virtual installation of the offense. Carroll said he was impressed with how connected in philosophy the team is with a real eye on tempo, which is what the Seahawks want to get with Russell Wilson. The emphasis on tempo, I think, is great. One thing that the Seahawks have always had an issue with in the Wilson era, in the Carroll era, in the Schottenheimer era, the Bevel era, is they don't know how to use the play clock. They're constantly running the play clock down to 1 second, and Wilson has to snap it in a panic. So if we can get that tempo thing down, get up to the line with 15 seconds left on the play clock, have time to change the play, survey the defense, that's a big part of the battle right there. So if there's anything you're hearing from this offense that should encourage you, it's that Waldron's main focus right now seems to be the tempo, and tempo is a huge deal for this offense. The only other thing that I heard from camp today, John Radigan had a couple comments about how the Seahawks were aggressive in their pursuit of him, and that if he didn't go in the 7th round, they wanted to sign him, which made it an easy decision for him. And all John Radigan really had to say is he's an off-ball linebacker, which is not surprising. And that's really about it. Hopefully the next OTAs, we actually get some people in the media able to watch and comment on specifically what they see. But that's pretty much the roundup. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about all this. I am pretty happy with what I'm hearing so far. I don't want to say I'm disappointed that the veterans didn't show up yet, because, look, we'll see. If they can get everything done virtually, good for them, and I'm not here to tell them that they shouldn't do that. But if I see things I don't like this year, and I see the kinds of things that make me think, these guys could have used more practice together, then is the time for me to get irritated. But for now, I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to let it be. And we'll see what we have at the end of the season. But that's the rundown for camp so far. I'm going to get out of here. See you guys in the stream in a little bit. Peace out. Go Hawks. And yeah, that's what we got.